Welcome to the Trap House Podcast. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe on all social media platforms. And now a quick word about our sponsors. We have Duke Traps with us. Check out duketraps.com. They manufacture over 40 different models of cage traps, coil and long springs, and body gripping style traps, as well as one of my personal favorites, the powder-coated dog proofs. Check out duketraps.com. Need a place to sell your fur? Check out Groenwald Fur and Wool Company. Over 50 years in the fur business, the largest and most experienced direct receiver of wild fur in the world. Check out their website, gfwco.com. Top Lot Stretcher Company. They have all the fur processing tools you need to get the job done in the fur shed. From push pins to wooden stretchers, they got you covered. Check out toplotstretcherco.com. And this one's for the ladies that don't mind getting their hands a little dirty setting some traps. We have Trapping Girl Inc. with us. Check out their website, trappinggirlinc.com. They have a great selection of women's apparel, kids apparel, baits and lures, and trapping supplies. Check out trappinggirlinc.com. J3 Outdoors. They make American trapping products designed for maximum trapline efficiency with products like the Hags Bracket and Spring Clip, as well as the Universal Lock and Beaver Rod ends. Get the tools you need to get the job done. Find out more at j3o.com. And there's only one true way to start out the day on the trap line, and that's with a hot cup of coffee from Trapline Coffee. They have great tasting blends to choose from, as well as chocolates. Head over to traplinecoffee.com for more. Weeby Knives. Check out weebyknives.com. They have a great selection of skinning knives, fleshing knives, fur handling tools, and they'll give you the edge you need to get the job done, and you guessed it, they're wicked sharp. Check out weebyknives.com. And we'd like to welcome the newest sponsor to the team, No BS Lures. Don't let the name fool you. There's more than just bait and lure. This company offers trapline tools and hardware, fur handling supplies, and the No BS traps. Check out nobslures.com. And last but not least, Hoosier Trapper Supply, home of the Top Dog Predator Bait, Jet Fuel Predator Lure. We offer a complete line of trapping baits and lures, deer scent, trapline tools and hardware, fur processing tools, and special package offers. Head over to HoosierTrapperSupply.com. All right. Welcome back to the Trap House Podcast. We got a guest here with us today, another YouTuber, trapper, fur lover. The list goes on. Mark Larson of Mark Larson Outdoors is with us. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Got a short notice, so I'm glad we could make it work.
During the holidays,
yeah.
In fact.
More than appreciate you asking me. Trust me.
Yeah. Like we said, we kind of start at the beginning, if you would. How'd you get into trapping? What inspired you to just go for it?
Oh man, I started trapping when I was young. I mean, probably 8, 9 years old, something like that. You know, riding my bike, setting a couple muskrat traps, you know, here and there. And I grew up in a small town, less than 100 people. So I mean, there was one bar in the town, and I would go down there on the weekends. I'd ride my bike down there. It was like a block away. I mean, it's a small town, but there was 2 trappers in the area, and I'd ride my bike down there, and I'd look in the back of their truck, see what they caught every morning, you know, on the weekends. And then I'd go in there, and they'd tell me stories, you know, about trapping and how they did it, and buy me a pop or something like that. And the one guy got me, he brought me a subscription strip for Trapper and Predator Color magazine back in the day when it was the big, huge magazine, you know, the big.
Right.
And I got that. And I mean, I read that thing from cover to cover every month and probably 10 times, but, you know, and fur fishing game and all that stuff. And I just tried to absorb everything that I could, you know, and it took a long time before I really got into the bigger trapping, you know, I mean, like coyotes or anything like that. I mean, I think I caught my first coyote when I was in high school, first fox and stuff like that, but mostly it was waterline. I had a small section of drainage ditch that the one person, he's a good friend of mine still to this day and very good man. And he used to trap there, and I'd follow him along once in a while. And he said he was going to get out of trapping. And I said, well, do you think I could trap that ditch? You know, he farmed it. He said, yeah. He said, you can farm or trap that. So it was like a mile long stretch from one road to another. And I think I was like 13 at the time. My mom would drop me off at the one road, and I had my pack basket and net traps and just a kid, waders. And I'd wade that all the way to the other road. She'd pick me up at the other road. And I think the first year I trapped it by myself, I caught over 60 muskrats out of there, and I don't know how many coon, a few coon, but and some mink. But I mean, you didn't even think it was hard work back then when you're a kid, But I do remember the very first year that I trapped that ditch. I got out there the first day, opening day, and I got a twin brother. He helped me. We set all our traps and everything. And I remember that night, some guy came to the door and knocked on the door, and I heard him talking to my mom, which, like, my dad passed away when I was 11 years old. So I really had no role model, and I mean, I did have some very good father figures that took us under their wings and helped us out. I feel terrible for our mom, the way we acted. There's 3 boys and we were terrible kids. but so that guy told my mom, he goes, hey, I just set all your son's traps off. He don't have permission to be there. I got permission to be there. And I was like, I was about, I probably did cry as a kid, but, so my mom called the guy that owned it and told him what happened. And he said, all right, I'll take care of it. And pretty soon he was at the door, and I could hear my mom out there talking to him, and he was standing outside, and he goes, yeah, it's taken care of. He said, I told that guy if he messes with that kid's traps one more time, it was bad. he went right to that guy's house and knocked on his door. And to this day, I mean, I have the utmost respect for that man because, I mean, he stood up for me, and that's how I got started trapping,
Sure.
It's funny to hear stories like that with you being able to jump out and get on the ditch and just walk it. And Charlie shares those stories. There's a ditch near here where he'd get out and just, check rat traps. When I got into trapping, I'm 38. Those days were kind of over. Like
In this area.
In this area, the muskrat numbers here. To get out and walk a ditch, you're not going to catch 60 rats like you did in a mile. And, it's
if you're going to catch any, it might be 5 or 6. We just don't have them anymore like that.
Yeah,
up there.
In certain areas, I mean, not huge numbers, not like that. I don't know that I could go back to that ditch, which I did trap that ditch a couple years ago. There were some beavers in there. Mm-hmm. I caught a few rats, in the beaver sets, but I didn't target rats. But there's still rats around. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I was pretty green, like I said, 13-year-old kid and 12, 13, whatever I was. And like I said, you didn't even know it was work back then. You just,
right.
You're out there in a blizzard. You're out there 10 below and you're trudging through and carrying a pack basket and cold as hell. And now everybody, gets that cold. They're not coming out of the house, but
right.
Didn't bother me.
It's funny how that was. I remember coming home when I was the same age, and my pants would have been, getting wet in the creek or whatever, and they'd literally be frozen.
Yeah, you had to wait till they thawed out before you could even take your coat off because the sleeves would freeze and your pants felt like you had armor on. Yeah, I remember those days.
So what year was that roughly?
Oh shit, that would have had to have been about 85. I know my dad passed away in 84, so
okay.
Around the 85, 86, somewhere in there.
Okay. So yeah, that was right before we had a fur market wise 2 or 3 really good years there, and then it just all fell apart. But
right. I mean, I remember selling the furs, the muskrats on the carcass, Grunwald would come here. They'd bring a truck. They had a route. They'd come here to the town I live in now. Mm-hmm. They'd be here every Saturday, I think it was. And I was getting $4 a muskrat, on the carcass. And, man, I was living large for a 12, 13-year-old kid, I'll tell you.
Right.
$30 for a coon, 40 maybe for a mink. I mean, I had a wad.
Living high on the hog.
Yeah. Those are like the best memories of your life, I think, or some of your best. When you think back, you didn't realize that it was the work that it was, and Just
Well, you come to appreciate it more. I mean, I don't think the youth has that much anymore, but and I don't like to say that, but um, I bought my first bow. I bought my first, guns, more traps, waders. I bought everything. I just put it back into trapping, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was doing all right. But and
right.
then in the summertime, I'd mow lawns and milk cows and all that stuff, and I just ended up buying my first truck. I mean, I that's all I did was work. And nowadays you don't see that.
No, it's definitely different. I will say that although it's concerning to a point, but another point, we see a lot of young kids that are involved in this. We may not necessarily see them as much at a convention. I think at the NTA, you're probably going to see them more there than at state conventions or local conventions. But there are quite a few kids. We had quite a few kids in today in the shop that were, coming in trapping or whatever. So I guess,
I mean, it's good to see when you do see them,
yeah, exactly. So,
but a lot of them want to just play video games, and they're smart kids, because if they can play them video games, they are smart kids. Trust me, because like every time I get a new phone or computer or something, I got to go find a kid that's, that show me how to run it. But they're like I said, I had a great group of guys, after my dad died that took us deer hunting and stuff like that. And I remember my mom would drop us off at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning in the dark at where we hunt now. Actually, the guys had a cabin there, and if you did that now, I'd probably call DCFS on them. But she'd drop us off in the middle of the morning, go home, and it was 20, 30 miles from our house. And then one of them guys would show up and say, hey, we're splitting wood or we're cutting wood today, and all right. And then they feed us lunch and give us a ride home, or whatever. But there was no saying no, and we didn't want to, because, if you said no, like a lot of kids would today, but if you said no, then you're done there, you're done.
right.
Probably. I mean, they really did take good care of us. So I don't know, maybe not, but I mean, we just didn't think about it. We didn't say, oh, well, we don't want to do that,
Right.
I felt like men, we're like working with men, we're kids, but we felt like we were men,
Yeah. I put a lot of hay up for $1.50 an hour. So it's like,
I milk cows every day after school for $5 every night. And then on the weekends, it was in the morning and in the afternoon, $5 each time, for quite a few years.
yeah.
I mean, it was like child labor law restrictions. It's like a sweatshop.
I think the ag industry has like an exemption on that or something.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. But like I said, I mean, it turns you into who you are. I mean, you get your own work ethic, and I just saved all my money and I bought all my stuff, bought my own truck and couldn't wait to get going,
Right. So was Groenewald always the main fur buyer up there? I assume so. You're pretty close to him.
Yeah, I'm about 45 minutes from their shop in Foreston.
Okay.
So whenever I get a full freezer, I just run up there.
That's kind of nice because
it's very convenient.
Yeah,
trust me.
That's a thing of the past. I mean, in the 70s and 80s, there were fur buyers like in every county. It was not hard to find a place to sell fur, and of course the late 80s, a lot of that, none of them could survive it, and they all have gone by the wayside. And here in recent years, the ones that did stick it out are all retiring or dying off,
right.
Or, and nobody's really replacing them, So you are very fortunate to have that in your backyard, essentially.
As far as I can ever that I know, I've never sold to anybody else. I mean, that they were always here,
Mm-hmm.
and then when the fur market crashed, they're not running as many routes around here, So I mean, it's convenient to just run up there.
Right.
And I know the buyer up there real well, and he knows what he's going to get from me, so he does he treats me very well.
That's good.
So how many buyers? I've never been to their place. I know Guy, and I've met Gary and Bryce, But how many other? Do they have quite a few buyers up there then at their
The
shop? Or?
only one that I've ever met is Terry.
Okay.
That's in the shop when I go up there.
Okay.
And if you ever call their shop and have any questions, Terry's usually the one that's going to answer the phone.
Okay.
Good. He's a really good guy.
We should go up there sometime.
We need
Just to
we need
see it.
to. Yeah, we need to.
Well, if you ever go there, let me know.
Okay, we'll meet you there.
Ain't that far away or whatever. You swing by here, whatever you want to do.
Okay. All right.
Need a place to stay? I'm here.
I used to back in the 70s and 80s. I did a lot of business with a guy in Cambridge, Wisconsin, which is not that far from you, really. It's
Yeah.
a couple hours, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Originally it was Cambridge Heidenford, and his name is John Johnson. He's no longer living, but
Okay.
that was quite a fur operation there as well. But here again, that's one of those that I think actually Hudson Bay went in there and eventually had that was
Bought him out.
one of their places, So, and he was always Hudson Bay guy. But anyways,
Yeah, I didn't know any different, back then. But
yeah,
just the fur truck's going to be here on Saturday. Be there, and I mean there'd be trucks lined up the street and around the corner, waiting to get up there and sell their furs. I mean, it was big time back then.
right.
It was
A lot of guys don't even ask what the fur market is. They just go trap.
right. I'm not making any money. Trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, last year was first year. I mean, I did real well on the beavers last year. I made the most money I've ever made trapping last year, and I doubt I broke even.
Right.
So, and then this year I went back to coyote trapping just because I wanted to, and I'm ambassador for Alan now for North American Trapper, and promoting his products. So, I mean, I love coyote trapping. I missed it last year, but I mean, beaver trapping's tough work too. I mean, I tell you what, I was wore out by the time I got done.
Yeah.
Everything's heavy beaver trapping. The traps, the drowning rods, the beavers, everything is heavy.
Yeah. And the water's almost always deep, and it's just
in waders and up and down creek banks, and yeah, it's tougher than I thought, but I really enjoyed it. And I'll go back to that. Our coyote and everything else ends February 15th. So, and then our beaver goes all the way till March 31st, beaver and otter. So
okay.
I'll start trapping them after that close. I mean, I'm just doing it to have fun. I really did miss it last year, but I was so busy from the start date till the end date trapping beavers. Because once one farmer got my number and asked me to trap beavers, and he asked how much I charged, and I said I won't charge you anything if you let me trap during season. They wanted me to come in there early. I said I can't trap till November 10th.
Right.
And they're like, no problem. And once I got the beavers out of there for him, then the phone would ring and, hey, I got your number from this guy. And then I'd be about done with that job. My phone would ring again. Hey, I got your number from this guy. And it just never ended, man. It's just
right.
But it opened doors, I mean, a lot of them wanted to pay me. Some of them did come right to my house. Even after I told them I do not want you to pay me, they'd come to my house and I'd open the door and they'd hand me an envelope. And I'd be like, geez, I didn't tell you to pay me. But, and some of them, they'd have ponds on their farms or I'd ask them if I could trap coyotes while I'm trapping the beavers or coons. And they're like, pretty soon they're like, you fish here anytime you want, you trap here, you trap whatever you want here, just do whatever you want, and it opens so many doors to other things. So
awesome.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I keep going back in the day. The farmers were just fed up with all of that stuff. There was so many people trapping, coon hunting, whatever, and I've mentioned it several times in the past. But but now it's completely different. There's not enough of us to go around, so a lot of them are really glad to have somebody show up.
Yeah, I have hardly any competition here. I'm telling you, I could knock on any door. If I see a beaver dam in a creek, if I knock on the door, and they'd be like, "Get them."
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody turning me away.
It's funny, we get they're normally urban or city transplants that move, out into agricultural area or whatever, and then they've got a lake or a pond or a creek nearby or a creek on their property, and the beavers show up, and they'll come in the shop and they'll tell us. It's like, when they first showed up, I just thought that was pretty neat. Well, it is pretty neat. I mean, I'll agree with it, but it didn't take very long for them to realize that they needed to go.
Start damaging in their property. Yeah,
right. Decorative trees and whatever else. So. But.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the problems I run into with the farmers when they call me, I mean, they got their fields flooded. They're damming up these drainage ditches and they can't even farm it. And the one property I had 2 years, or it was last year, I finally got them all out of there. But I mean, they could not pick their whole field of corn. They had their whole field underwater, and they had a nice crop this year finally.
Yeah,
but
they should have just left it flooded and turned it in for a duck hunting marsh.
Well, that's what they told me. They wanted to put it in set aside or in wetlands, and I'm like, well, then why are you calling me? It's already a wetland.
Right.
They're like, well, they have to be able to plan it to put it into set aside, and it has to be planted for so long before they can do that.
Okay.
I guess
Okay.
something like that. I was like, you already got wetland, man. There's ducks and everything in there. You can just go ahead.
Right.
But I guess it didn't work that way in Illinois. So
what I think is funny, or it's probably not funny to them, but it's funny to hear the story, is like the farmer will tell you this. He didn't even realize there were beavers in the ditch or whatever until he went maybe to harvest his corn, and he'll get back to where the beaver, and it'll be like it looks like they pick silage. I mean, like it's just cut off at the stalk.
yeah,
Everything's gone. It'd be like
And then
acres that are bare, that they didn't even know until they got back there.
right. And their whole dam's built out of corn stalks.
Yeah.
That's usually when I get the calls, when they start picking their corn, and then they'll send me a picture. Get in here.
Yep. Beaver trapping. That's when I truly discovered what the meaning of dead weight was. Tagging a beaver out of some brush. You're like, man,
Oh my gosh.
they're
Absolutely.
floppy and hard to get a hold of.
Especially them 60-some pounders and stuff. And man,
Yeah,
and it's always muddy.
Yeah.
So I try to get as close as I can with my Jeep. The one year I had to use I got a Polaris Ranger, but there was even spots I couldn't even get close with that, So then I'd start taking a sled, so I could at least drag them back. I mean, it's just, there's no way you can carry 260, 50-pound beavers.
Right.
There's no way.
Right. Yeah, I've
anyway.
Get a few on the bank before just.
Justin might be able to, but I know I can't. I'm just gonna say I'm not.
Oh, back in my day, I used to do 4 or 5 in one load.
Well, you're a lot younger than I am, so I believe you could do it. I could.
No.
Maybe I could. Maybe I couldn't. I don't know. I'm not gonna. We'll just put it that way. I'm not gonna do it.
Well, I might have had a beaver confused with the muskrat. I carried 5 muskrats out of the woods once. That's the best I did.
Yeah, that's saying something right there.
So, Mark, I've seen on your channel you do a fair amount of tanning, and obviously you got the tan skins hanging behind you. Is that something you've been doing for a while, or got into recently, or?
No, I've been doing it for a while. I mean, I've always been interested in that, and I did some when I was younger, and probably didn't have the results that I have now, but I like doing it. I mean, it is work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like doing it. And like this wall behind me is basically, there's a story behind that. There's some other hides that aren't mine, like I got a wolf from Paul, and I don't know. There's a bobcat there from Trapper J, and there's, I don't know, some other stuff that ain't mine, but all the coyotes on this wall, like the first year I decided to trap coyotes, I had a goal of 10, and I actually caught 11, and one had mange. So there's 10 coyotes on this wall, all from that season. And then the next season I had a goal of 20, and I ended up catching 31. But that's when I started really learning how to trap coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so much fun, but it's discouraging too. You know how it is. I mean, you check a lot of empty traps, and like I said it already in a video this year. I mean, you start to doubt everything. I was beaver trapping like basically the last year and a half, and they went for a week or so without a catch on the coyotes, and I've never had a first night catch. I'll say that right now, and so that doesn't really surprise me. But man, I was starting to doubt everything. Bed in my trap, where I set it, bait, lure, my scent, everything. It's a mind game, and that's what I try to tell all the younger trappers or beginning trappers. Doesn't matter their age. Just you got to stay with it, man. One of these days you're going to drive up there. There's going to be a coyote jumping around that trap, hopefully. But
yeah, that's kind of the standard line. It's just like you're probably not doing anything wrong. You just got to roll with it. That's just the way it is.
And you can't catch them if they ain't there. That our coyotes around here, they're probably on about a 3-day cycle to where they're going to come through the areas where I'm trapping. So if I miss one or have one dig at a trap or something, I know we'll be back. And I've learned a lot from you, Charlie, with your videos and your demos. Saying if you had a dug up trap, and I started moving the trap closer to the hole as I was getting better at catching them, and I could see where they were putting their paw. So I do kind of like what you do. I do guard the hole. I crowd the hole basically, like what you say. And but what you said in one of your demos or one of your videos, I can't remember which one, but really made a lot of sense, where you said if you had one dug up in an exposed trap, leave that trap and bed another one. And I'm telling you, that works very well. I mean, I learned that from you, and that really does work.
Yeah.
Maybe not forever, but like you said, leave it for a few days, and if he comes back, you'll have him in that other trap.
Right. If it's truly a coyote, that if it's a coon, which they're really good about messing with sets, then just remake the set or cover the set, trap back up and go on. But if it's truly a coyote, that method of blending another set in or another trap in and leaving the thing uncovered, whatever, that works well. Not every time, but a lot of times. Same with ones that want to work from the back of the dirt hole. That's another one you can blend in one back there. And like you said, assuming that same one comes back, and he probably will, because curiosity normally gets them.
Right.
Blend one in back there, and a lot of times you'll catch them. So
yeah, and that's really gratifying. Trust me, when you get that coyote, that makes you feel like you learned something or you did something right.
Right. Yeah, there's kind of two perspectives on that. So some guys will say, I'm going to move to fresh ground and not deal with that coyote. And I'll just figure he's seed for the future. Or like yourself or whomever, myself.
Then it's a game.
Yeah, you want to mess with.
Then it's a game. Then it's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, see who comes
just
out
like
on top.
Just like trap shy beaver,
Yeah. Gosh, those could be a pain.
Now those are ones that frustrate me probably more than coyotes. Is just that there's one or two beavers left. They're holed up or they're not moving or whatever they're doing. I don't, that can really be frustrating, particularly if they want every one of them caught.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I guess, when I first started beaver trapping, I caught a couple of them where I took a toe off of them. And I talked to Dan Davis quite a bit, and I was using his Alpha Delta lure, and he said, "Oh man, you just educated that beaver. You're probably never going to catch him again." And then I'd catch him the next night, and he's like, "I don't know what you're doing," and then I took his whole front leg off. He pulled the drowning rod out, got underneath a bridge where it was shallow water. I found the trap and drowning rod. Thank God it was under, it was pulled out. Had his front leg in it. I was videoing. This is on a video. I was videoing my sets, and I seen a beaver coming up the creek, and he was coming towards the dam. So I got behind a tree, and I just kept the camera on him. He crawled up the dam, literally 5 feet away from me, and I said it in the video. I said, he's missing the front foot. And he went down, he swam across, and I seen where he went under this tree. So I knew he had a bank den there. So I put a 330 over that bank den as best as I could. I mean, I couldn't get in there. It was so deep. Next day, I thought I'd have him for sure. Next day, it was set off. I missed him again. So the very last day of season, it was probably like 2 days later. It was the very last day of our beaver trapping season. I caught him in the last trap. It was like 2 days later after I filmed him with missing that foot. I caught him in the last trap. I pulled him up, and he was missing that front foot. I caught him in a drowning rod and Dan Davis said, "Well, you just earned your PhD in beaver trapping."
Yeah, I think so. You're the luckiest beaver trapper.
I did it a few times, but
yeah,
he couldn't believe I was doing. I don't know, I'd rather be lucky than good. I'll tell you.
Well, I think part of that's your persistence paid off too. So just sticking with it and rolling with it and watching what he did, put it in the appropriate places, and but.
And this, where I filmed him coming over that dam, was probably a quarter mile from where I took his front leg off. So
yeah,
it was insane. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it. You couldn't make it up. I mean, it was just insane. And it was the last day of the season too. I remember it was March 31st. Tornado warnings going off like a son of a gun. And I'm out there trying to pull the traps, get them all pulled. And I mean, it was calm. It was dead calm. It was nice out. It wasn't bad. And I caught him, and I stopped at the landowner's house as I was pulling out, and we had a couple celebratory drinks. And I said, well, I better get home and get this beaver skinned. And I mean, it's still nice out. And I no more than made it home. It was like 5 miles from my house. I backed up on the driveway to get that beaver out and hang it up in the garage, and that tornado hit. It hit hard. I mean, it crushed our town and tore half my roof off. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't forget that day.
No, never will. And I said it in the video too. I said, I got to get these traps pulled. There's tornado warnings. It's coming. I mean, it's nice now, and you could just see how eerily calm it was in that video. And oh boy.
Before the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, I just backed up on the driveway, and it got completely dark, and the wind picked up, and there was garbage cans and stuff bouncing off my Jeep. So I just put it in drive and took off, and by the time I got uptown, it already went through and over. I got back home, and I couldn't tell. I mean, I was missing some stuff. There was stuff blowing everywhere. And then the next morning I got up and I seen like how many shingles were tore off my roof. And then I was like, oh no, but we got it taken care of.
So you just left. You didn't go home in the basement.
Yeah, I wasn't getting out of that Jeep, man. There's stuff flying everywhere. I was going to take my chances.
We had, I don't remember what year it was, 2000, and my kids can tell you exactly, 2005 or whatever. I don't know. When did you guys graduate from high school?
Are you talking about tornado that hit your house?
Yeah.
That would have been in 06.
06. We were home, and tornado hit our house. At the time we just rented this place. It was a big 2-story farmhouse. Owners lived out of state. And the tornado hit that house, and we were downstairs under a stairwell. We couldn't get to the cellar in time. Looked out the window, and the wind was going the opposite direction of that it was supposed to be.
The debris.
Yeah.
So
the debris was going the opposite direction of what. Anyways, got down in a stairwell and rode it out, and got up and go in the dining room area, and the wall from upstairs was in the dining room, and it's like, okay, well, there's probably a problem. Walk up the stairs, and the roof's completely gone on this house that had probably been there easily 100 years. And that was, and that thing was built like a tank too. It was, original full-size 2x4s and, the whole deal. But,
man, that's a bad feeling.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, all that you've worked for your whole life, and
right. And we'd been there quite a number of years. It was probably the worst thing right at that moment is like, well, the house, you couldn't live in it. So it was like, fortunately, a neighbor came, knocked on the door. My mom lived close by, so we stayed there that night. And neighbor stopped by the next day and said, hey, I got a place for you to live. So until for as long as you need it, so, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a
it was
terrible
just-
feeling.
yeah, it
Man.
was just, so I know I could relate very well. So
I hated to take off, but I was just like, what am I going to do? Get out of here and out of
I
this
think,
Jeep and
I
go
think
try
if
to get in my house? And
I think if you're able, if you can drive and get away from it, that's probably the best thing to do. But
I just panicked. I just threw it in drive and took off.
yeah,
That reminds me when we were in Mississippi pulling traps and our phones are blowing up saying there's a tornado coming or warning.
I think that's actually the name of the video. I said, you can't make this up. I think that was the name of the video.
Yeah.
When I caught that beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So what made you want to start doing a YouTube channel and sharing all this stuff?
I'll tell you, I mean, I didn't know anything about YouTube at all. And I just got back into coyote trapping and everything. So I didn't know anything about subscribing to anybody or anything like that. But I stumbled across Trapper Jay. I mean, he was still pretty young channel. I mean, not young, but I mean, but he was like the only one that came up, at the time. And so I remember every day getting off work and watching my phone because he was putting out a video every day of what he caught the day before, and just watching how he was doing it and what he was using and everything like that. And then I was talking to him one day and I said, how do I start a YouTube channel? I think I wouldn't mind trying to do this. He goes, well, you already got one. I'm like, what do you mean I already got one? He goes, if you got a Google account, you got a YouTube channel. All you got to do is start uploading videos. I'm like, Jesus, I don't know. And I had no idea. I mean, I had a phone. That's all I had. And I tried doing it. I didn't know anything about editing. I didn't know anything about computers. And thank God, my good friend Glenn, if it wasn't for him, I just talked to him a little bit ago, but he knows a lot about computers and everything. He went to school for it and everything. He's a little bit younger than me, but not much. But if it wasn't for him, I probably would have quit because he talked me in. I'm on a Chromebook right now. He said, that's what you need. He said, it's like a bigger size of your phone. And showed me how to edit, talked me into some other things. And if I had a question, I'd take my computer out to his house or he'd come here or I'd call him and he'd try to walk me through it. But I mean, I was so close to quitting because trying to edit something on a phone, I can't do it. And,
Yeah,
and
I could never.
it would stop, or quit. And it was just, I was about ready to quit. If it wasn't for my good friend Glenn, then I got to give him a shout out. I probably would have quit. And another person I want to mention, Boxy, Todd Arnold out in Pennsylvania there, Boxy Outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
He always had his showcase every week, every Sunday, I think it was. And if you were under 100 subscribers or something like that, he would showcase a smaller channel every Sunday. If you answered the question, you were the first to comment or whatever, you would be on that. And he showcased my channel. And I remember, it didn't blow up or anything, but that's what helped me. I mean, quite a bit too, and then I had a GoPro and that was a whole nother hurdle, and so and I started videoing and I finally got tired of trying to be cheap about it. And I researched, my friend Glenn helped me research and stuff. And I found an editor that would work for my Chromebook and bought the editor. And, he showed me, just go look at the tutorial, watch the tutorials on it, shows you how to run it. And it was hard, I mean, at first I didn't know nothing. I didn't know how to upload. I didn't know how to download. I didn't know anything about computers. And, so then I remember I went up north to Minnesota with Coyote from After 5 Outdoors. I don't know if you've ever heard of his channel, but went up there fishing on Lake of the Woods with him. He's up by the Canada border, and he had a really good channel. He still does. He just doesn't post a lot anymore. But he just told me, he said, just get on that editor someday. Don't mess with anything else. Just get on that editor, start pushing buttons. And start, use some old files that if you lose it, you're not going to be upset. And he said, just play around with that editor and just get used to it and learn it. And that was the best advice that he could have gave me. I came home and I edited that video from up there. I edited 2 videos from up there, and the first time I really edited anything by myself. I mean, Glenn would help me, but he was kind of a sink or swim kind of teacher. I mean, which was good. It was very good. I mean, I would love it if he would do it for me, but he didn't live close to me at the time, and he'd be back and forth from where he was working, and so he couldn't. But he would go through it so fast. I was trying to write notes, but I finally ended up getting. He's like, you just got to hover over stuff, and it'll tell you what it's going to do. And I was like, and like I said, I was about ready to throw in the towel, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
And that's one thing everybody needs to hear. There's a lot of channels that get frustrated, and I know they do, and then they quit. Just don't quit.
Right.
Right. Even if you don't get the views that you think, I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, at minimum, it's a cool way to just document, even if it's for yourself. 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, watch. Like, oh yeah, that was a great day, and
Yeah.
we're on what, season 13 of Who's Your Trapper Outdoors.
Is it that many?
Yeah, and it's just like,
It's cool to go back and look, and then you reference something, and you lose. This way it's documented. We lose track of years,
Yeah.
or
It'll be there forever.
stuff, and
Hopefully.
yeah,
You lose your phone, you lose your computer, or, something happens, you're always going to have that.
right,
And trying to educate people as well,
right. The I'm fortunate. Justin, obviously, he could do this when he took a class in high school on that, right? Editing. Or you learned some in high school.
I learned some real basic stuff with cameras and editing and stuff because it was part of the high school announcements that they put on. And then from there, in college, I took some more in-depth stuff.
Yeah.
Then I just
That's the way my friend Glenn was. I mean, he was building websites for his high school and college and everything. And I mean, he knew everything about it, but he didn't, he showed me, he didn't do it for me. And
Right.
That's the best way to learn.
They've gotten better. Stuff's gotten more user-friendly. I think the only thing that can be the hang-up or issue now these days is like the amount of bells and whistles one program can have. That can be overwhelming. It's going to have a lot of features that you probably won't need, but if you wanted to make
if you're in an area that doesn't have good Wi-Fi or something like that, I know that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've dealt with that here. We're pretty close to Indianapolis, and we were like, we might as well have been Amish because
we literally upload a video and be like, well, let's go to bed, and when I wake up in the morning, I'll check it and see if it made it through or if it got rejected.
I remember those days and that.
Yeah,
and then it was through like a satellite. Well, through HughesNet, so then you only had so much usage, and then they ding you for going over, and so now we do have fiber. So that was a long time in coming, considering we're pretty close to urban areas, So
right, yeah, I have real good internet here, thank God. But before I was still getting frustrated, and didn't know how to do it.
Right,
but I'm just glad I stuck with it, and that's what I want to put out there for everybody that's just starting out. I mean, just stick with it, and I mean, everybody has hard times. Trust me. You just said you did, and there's not a person out there that just jumps on, I don't think, and they're doing a great job right off the bat.
Right. When we very first started out with the YouTube thing, we wanted to run like a parallel deer hunting channel as well to promote our deer hunting scent, and of course, there's lots of people that try that, and most of them fail, and it's so difficult to get footage of deer hunts, particularly if they have any level of success, to come up with content. I mean, that's just, I mean, deer comes in, you shoot it, you miss it. And then if you want to factor in that it's going to be a big buck, which
is very rare, and
reduces your likelihood, completely. I'm sure you're familiar with the whitetail adrenaline guys.
Mm-hmm.
those guys, they don't have videos on YouTube, but they sell their videos. And I don't know, they must have thousands of hours of footage to come up with what they come up with. I mean, it's just,
Right.
just absolutely over the top crazy. So we
And
gave
I
up
don't have
on
the
that
time
pretty,
for that,
pretty quickly.
Most of us don't have the time for that. We got jobs,
Right, exactly. That's all they do, so
Right.
it's, it's crazy so we gave up on that actually fairly quickly and then just went with the trapping because trapping, you can definitely come up with content. But
Pretty easy to film them when they're in the trap.
exactly.
I think. I mean, I try to do other videos too, and they don't get near as many views like deer hunting or I got some elk hunting videos which did pretty well, but just I got back to trapping and I'm like, this is way easier than trying to trap or film fishing or hunting or
Right.
or anything, and I don't get the views, on any of my fishing videos, which is fine. I get it. People don't tune in to watch me to catch bluegill and bass and stuff, but
Right.
It's kind of a flooded market.
I think, there's a lot of people
Deer
doing
hunting
it,
and fishing, man, there's so much of it. Yeah.
although I got one of them blowguns, one of them fish hawks, and I shoot frogs with them. Those usually get pretty good views. I love that thing. I seen Trapper Jay had the first one that I ever seen, and as soon as I seen him out there, he was having a blast, shooting frogs and carp and everything. And I'm like, I got to have one of those. And man, it is a blast shooting frogs with one of them.
I'll have to check that out.
Oh man, they're delicious. I love eating frogs.
Oh yeah, they're very good. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I seen that, I was like, I gotta have one of those. He's having way too much fun.
So what you're gonna be out? Well, I know it's early in this cold weather, but we're always thinking warm weather. You're gonna get out on the convention circuit this year. See you at a national.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Well, I don't know if I'll be at the NTA. That's in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be there. That's like 14 hours for me. But I'll definitely be in Spencer for the FTA.
Okay. That's where let's see, last year was the first NTA that you'd been to. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, couldn't believe it. I mean, that was great.
Yeah.
Loved it. And I basically went out there because, they had Tom Miranda. He's always been a hero of mine back in the fur fishing game days and everything. Right. And I wanted to go to the NTA, and then I seen in the flyer that he was going to be there. And I told my brother, I said, I'm going to meet Tom Miranda. And I did, and I videoed him, and he's on my video and everything. And I wanted to meet Alan because I've always watched North American Trapper on TV and everything. And
right.
I mean, I met you at the Illinois convention, and then I run into Justin there at the NTA and met so many people. I mean, I was camping with all the Iowa guys, Iowa Trapper, Next Gen, and all them guys. And Stu Miller come down there. Him and Bill Duke came down there 2 nights with us, and they're just. I mean, Bill Duke is like the nicest guy in the world. I mean,
yeah,
so genuine, so just down to earth for
right.
who he is,
right.
Yep. And Stu was the same way, And I've always Stu is like the epitome of fur handling, and I don't know how many of his videos I watched over and over, when I was skinning something for like an otter for the first time or something for the first time, and I told him that, I was like, thank you so much for all you've shared because, I mean, just so educational and helpful.
Right. Yeah, that's really what, I mean, that was his, like you said, that he was the guy, the fur handling guy, and that's, that was.
Oh yeah, excellent job.
Yeah, and I think he's got the biggest trapping YouTube channel there is, I believe. So.
Very close if he isn't.
Yeah.
Over 100,000, I think.
Yeah,
something.
Oh yeah, he's been over 100,000. He might be closer to 120 now. I think the last time I watched him.
Yeah.
Great guy. I mean,
does a good job.
I watched all his videos and commented on his videos and never really heard much back from him. He lives about 3 hours south of me, and I wanted to meet him too, and it was great to meet him. And then for him to come down there with us and him and Bill Duke and just sit there and talk with him and talk with them too, and just a great time,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like starstruck out there. I was talking to all these people and you guys, and I just it was just a great time. I mean, I was so happy I went.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Bill Duke just picks him up in his plane and just takes
Yeah,
takes him to the
I
convention.
think I said that to Bill. I mean, we had a few drinks, and I told Bill, I said, next time you pick up Stu, you pick up me. I said, I'll be there.
That's awesome.
I don't know if he believed. I think he said yes, but I don't think I don't know. He might have meant it. He's a damn good guy, I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
he is a good guy. He's good for this industry. Obviously sells traps and promotes, but he's good for this industry. So
And he sponsors so many people, and just he really does good for the whole trapping community, and puts out affordable, really good traps.
Right. Yeah, including this podcast, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Sponsors our podcast.
I mean, I don't think, this is going to get into a whole different conversation, kind of, but, everybody's got their own opinion, but I don't think a beginning trapper could buy a better trap than a Duke 550 right out of the box and catch coyotes. I mean, it's already ready to go, night latch. I mean, I got a lot of older traps, Duke number 2 square jaws, number 3 round jaws that I modified. I 4-coiled the 3s and laminated the jaws and base plated them and stuff like that. But I mean, right out of the box, that Duke 550 or 650, or even some of the 450s, I just bought some of them this year. But I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's a nice trap.
Definitely.
Nice trap.
At an affordable level,
Right.
Yeah. Well, Mark, appreciate you being on. We've got to run off here, but I'll have the link in the description for anyone that goes straight to your channel if you haven't checked it out already. And is there any last thing you want to throw on here before you go?
I could go on and on.
I
I'm
know.
sure, but, I love talking trapping with like-minded people. But yeah, I'll see a lot of you guys at the conventions, and I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to be on here. It's been a great time.
We'll do it again in the future. So, and we'll definitely see you in Spencer, Iowa, for the Fur Taker Convention, which I believe is the last weekend of July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know if any of you guys go down to the NWTF in Nashville. I'll be down there in February. So.
Okay.
I always want to.
It conflicts pretty badly with when we're going in Texas or whatever. I think it's after that, but
right. And I didn't get to see you at the Illinois convention this year because you were having your thing at your place. I wanted to get out there for that, but I had some people at the Illinois convention, and that's only an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours, hour and a half from me, and your place about 4 for me, 4 or 5. So I just went to the Illinois one, but I wanted to come out there, but I'll get out there sooner or later.
Yeah, if you get a chance, it's a good fun day. So
definitely.
Anyway.
All right. Well, I hope you have a good New Year and the holidays were good, and everyone listening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Late Merry Christmas to you,
and Happy New
Happy New Year.
So, yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.